And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Naran Desgarennes, who's had 2 near-death experiences, which we're going to learn about today. Naran, thanks for joining me and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff.
Naran, let's start with your first one, okay?
Yeah. I was in a bus accident while visiting my family. I was in Mexico City, and I was with friends that came with me to Mexico City, and we were heading to the nearest city south, and we had just actually missed the bus. And we ran to actually catch the bus, and the bus was just leaving. And I put myself in front of a bus to stop the bus from leaving, and the bus opened the door. We jumped in. We had done some shopping, and there was a bunch of elderly people in the bus. That was a bus that connected the center of Mexico City to the center of the next city, and it was full, and at the same time, we just, each one of us had its seat in the bus. So 2 hours. It's 2 hours drive from one city to the other, and probably 45 minutes in the mountain. Suddenly, I actually passed out because I was really tired from the day. It was in the evening. And suddenly I started to feel like the bus vibrating, and then it flipped to the side, and then it kept going, and then the bus started rolling down the hill around 500 meters. And in that moment, it felt like suddenly time stopped, and I could see everything in slow motion, almost like in films when something terrible happens. It really felt like in slow motion I could see the movement, people falling to the sides and all that. And suddenly something hit my head, but I guess it was one of the seats of the bus, because I was upside down, and I passed out. In those moments, I felt like this explosion, almost like, and I felt like I was in this white space, white empty space, and across of me there was my friend that was in the bus with me, which I knew he had passed already. And he was with people behind him, and he was surprised to see me there. And he told me, like, you can't stay, you can continue. I knew he was with his mother. I couldn't see him physically. I just knew it was him. I knew that was what's happening. In those moments, I felt really sort of peaceful and cared and loved. It's like a quality of love. Not the love that we normally think about, but the quality of being loved. And he told me, you can't stay. And I said, I want to continue. I don't want to go back, because I could feel or perceive somehow that my body had been injured, and my body had been, yeah, there was pain, there was sorrow, there was suffering, and all these things were happening, sort of in like a distant plane. And then he told me, no, you can't continue. And then him and everybody who was behind him pushed me back, and I opened my eyes, and I was down in my body, and injured, obviously, and everything that I knew that that could happen if I didn't continue with him. So it was kind of knowing that what I had just experienced was almost like the beginning of something else and the end of what I perceived as life. And that both were happening simultaneously. However, in those moments, I did not take it as a big thing because of the survival instinct kicked in, and I started to just try to manage everything that was happening with my body and body and the pain and people around me and the screams from people from the bus and um, um, yeah. And in those moments, there was this uh, thought that said, I just dreamed. I just dreamed that it was just a dream. What happened there? I didn't give it much of a. Yeah, it was not a big deal, and I lived with that belief for many years after. And there was some suppression of that experience because it was really a profound experience. And something inside me was kind of pushing me to meet that again, to really take a look closer into, okay, what was that really, what was it, what I really experienced in those moments. So
It's fascinating that your friend had already processed his own death in that short amount of time and was able to tell you, hey, you need to go back.
hmm.
Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, and I understood it later that in that moment, or in the actually in this moment, there is no time, and um, and that what was happening, it was just what was happening in the moment, not related to time.
Once you came back to your body and you discovered that your friend truly had crossed over, how did you process that?
Actually, my other friend, we were two friends in the bus, and my other friend told me that is our friend. He had been buried. Almost half of his body was buried because the bus had gone over his body. And I look at him, and he was looking at me with his eyes open. And I just say thank you because it was, I had just met him, and I had met him in this um, unconditional loving way. That's the only, it sounds um, cheesy if we want to say it like that, but it had been this intimacy that we had a moment of intimacy and closeness of there is no need to say goodbye. There is no need uh, to say we will see each other again. We were just part of the same in those moments. So I just looked at him and say thank you for just the comfort moments that and the intimacy that we got to share right before I kind yeah, I was kind of sent back.
So for years, you just considered this to be a dream. You didn't think it was a real experience.
Yeah, I convinced myself that it had been a dream and that what I had experienced was just another moment to dissociate, sort of thing, of reality, of the physical reality that I was living in the moment, which later, years later, was the opposite. I was dissociating myself from the truth, from meeting what had just happened in the accident, really. Not the physical, but the revelation, sort of, if we want to call it like that, or the or meeting myself truly in a different way through my friend.
Was it your second NDE that confirmed it for you that the original experience was real, or was it some other event?
There were a bunch of events, but the one that really cleared everything was the second NDE.
Let's move forward to the second NDE.
So looking for healing, from the accident and trying to meet what had really happened in those moments, I decided to find some ways to connect with myself, and it was done through retreats, meditation, breath work, um, and psychedelics. And one of the experiences that I had in one of those journeys, uh, it was dying again. It was completely coming back into those moments of explosion. It's just that this time was in slow motion and speed of light at the same time. Um, it felt like my body was dissolving into crystals and into pieces, as if I had just been set up a bomb inside and it had just detonated. And at the same time, when the body was dissolving, I was being shot like a rocket through outer space, at a really, really high speeds, and until there was a lot of noise and a lot of chaos, until what I perceive as myself became like a point moving from one side to another, and that was it. It was just moving to one side to the other, and then it continued going up, and then it dissolved into this white, um, empty space again that I had lived in the first NDE, that I recognized as, okay, this is me. This is just me. There is nothing left in between. There is nothing left in between what I call life, and that it's just this timeless space and this vastness, emptiness, and there was also eternity at the same time, and there was this absolute silent void, um, and it was disturbing and peaceful at the same time. uh, it's actually peaceful and dynamic and chaotic and peaceful at the same time. It's very hard to describe because it doesn't have a one quality only. um, and the return from that was to to be to notice that I had just I couldn't know, I couldn't understand actually when I came back of that. I couldn't understand um, how much time had passed, because for me had passed an eternity, um, or for the mind had just passed an eternity, and at the same time they had just, it's an instant as well. um, when I returned from that, I remember looking at my hands, uh, and I could see through my hands. I could see through the trees because I was in the out. I could see through the trees, which is very similar of what I lived in the first accident that I could not remember, but I remember those moments of looking at my hands, looking at the trees, and seeing the translucent, kind of holographic quality. Um, and in the second one, I just couldn't remember anything about my life, and I remember even saying it out loud. I don't know who I am. I can remember my family. I can remember. I tried to search of who's my mom, who's my sister, who's this, and until one of my friends that was with me that day came into the memory, and then I was like, oh, she's here, so I will be okay. Um, and then it felt like I just passed out again, and there is like a moment of disconnection of what happened, and suddenly I just opened my eyes and I was crying, and um, out of joy and gratitude, and peaceful and of life, of going through the very difficult and the suffering and just life, almost like welcoming everything that had happened, in what seemed like a dream of memories.
Did you feel pressured to come back or forced to come back from this experience? Or did you encounter any beings that told you have to come back?
No, this was it was kind of like, it felt like an agreement that if I was going to go all the way into oblivion, because that's how it was, oblivion, there was no return. And I was surprised when everything started to pull back, because it was like really like a slingshot. It was like really shot all the way through beyond space and then coming back at the same speed. And the two times it was like, I don't want to come back. That's the feeling. I don't want to return. I was fine.
Why did you decide to come back the second time?
It took me a while to understand the meaning of it, because in the moment, although there was gratitude and everything, there was also this understanding that this is not what I perceived as my life is not mine. What I perceive as life is not life. What I perceive or the thoughts that I had associated with everything that I thought I knew there is not. And that there is just this empty vastness, void silence, that contains everything. So there was the return was, to answer your question, there is no purpose whatsoever but to experience this, to remember that this is what it is, no matter what it is.
So is that why we come here, just to experience this reality?
I cannot speak for anybody but my experience, because what I lived, it's like this explosion that goes into different places, and that whatever when I came back, I saw all those parts coming also together, and each part of that had experience. The experience was unique. So into my experience, it is that's the meaning for me, that I came here to fully accept and experience what there is to experience, and to remember that this whatever is that I'm experiencing, it's happening whether I like it or not, whether my mind holds back or not, whether my mind accepts it or not. It's just what's happening.
Do you believe in reincarnation? And if so, are you coming back here again next time?
It is hard to describe what we, or even the reincarnation thought or belief got shattered, because it is not a reincarnation. It is kind of entering a reality that is also happening at the same time as everything. So it is not that, for me, that it is re-happening. It is just kind of entering this this what it seems to be a linear reality, but it is also happening at the same time as everything else of what I call that explosion. So just to clarify what reincarnation, it is not just once. It is just that I am just aware of this one, but everything is happening at the same time.
So you're saying that if we do live more than one life, they're all happening at the same time,
Yes.
including the past, the present, and the future?
Yes, and we are all the same. We're the same. The
We're
same
this.
presence that holds all these characters.
We're all the same, or we're all ultimately one being, separated
That's
into trillions of egos.
that's it. Yeah, we're just one being. We're just aware of the reality that we hold, but there is just one being.
I think for someone who has never experienced an NDE, it's very difficult to understand that we are all one. Like I am you and you are me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you could have understood that if you hadn't had an NDE?
It's not just the NDE, but it is also any other practice that is able to tap into this oneness, into this beingness. Um, no matter which practice that is able to help us tap into connecting with ourselves, um, can do it. The NDE is just one way that it's very visual and sensational and physical, perceptual, I would say. But there are other practices that are also a good way to recognize, just to recognize that we are not separate and that um, we are one being. The NDE just gave me a little more of visuals or a greater understanding of kind of almost the creation of it. But at the end of the day, there is no need for those visuals as long as we recognize that I am here and that that there is no you or me, that there is no object subject, that everything is happening from the same place.
Have you ever wondered why people are allowed to have NDEs and come back? Because wouldn't that experience change everything about your experience going forward?
I have, and what I've gotten is, or what I understood for what happened to me is that there would have been no other way for me to push myself through wanting to understand further that what I had understand that what I had understood up until my accident. I needed that accident to happen to sort of push the limits of my experience and be curious enough to wanting to explore a little bit more of that.
Do you think that this exploration is part of the reason why you came here?
Yes, is to find out who am I without the story and without the what I have came to believe about my life.
Since your experiences, have you noticed that you have any new abilities that could be considered psychic?
They're not new abilities. I think they were always here. It's just that they were not really. I was unaware of them. They were not recognized, and I think there is no difference between anybody and myself. We all have the same abilities and we all have the same capacities. But definitely that helped the mind to break the limits that it had, or what it had considered the limits of the experience, and open up to new possibilities. Yeah,
Do you think that we can have an NDE like experience without the trauma?
100%.
And
Yes, and it doesn't have to be an NDE per se. It is just a recognition of who we really are. The NDE is just sort of a traumatic way to experience the truth, but there is no need of an NDE as long as we are willing and that we recognize who we really are beyond our perception or our not our perception but our mind, beyond of what we have come to believe that we are.
What would be the benefit of that?
We will be really more compassionate towards each other. We would treat each other much better, because we would know that whatever I would be doing, or what to the apparent other, is I am doing it to myself. So the relationship with ourselves definitely has an impact, and the relationship, and hence the relationship with everything that surrounds us, because it's not just the animated objects that are involved, is the unanimated objects as well, because that's also part of us. All this experience is the same. Is coming from the same place.
Do you think that this realm that we live in is a place of duality, good and bad, light and dark, and this place will never be a paradise? And that's okay, because we come here to experience what it is.
So the paradise and the good and the bad, all that belongs to the mind. It is not, wherever all this comes from, there is no judgment. There is no polarization of, oh, okay, this is good and this is bad and this should happen and this shouldn't happen. That is the mind trying to gain control of the experience.
So should we surrender to the experience?
Well, do we have any choice?
That's true. Well, once we do surrender, do we put meaning to the experience and say this is good or this is bad?
Well, then that's the mind again coming in online, trying to get hold of the experience. If we really truly surrender, then there is no judgment. Then we accept fully our experience.
There's no basic underlying thought or reality of this is pleasurable and this other thing could be horrible.
Well, there is the different qualities of life. Yes, this some things feel not better than others, but they feel different. It's just that the mind has already said this. I don't want to feel this, and I don't want to feel that, and I shouldn't be feeling this, and I shouldn't be feeling that, because, and then there is a story going out from there. Our experience is our experience. There is no way that we can change it. We can change our reaction to it. We can change. Okay, I'm gonna resist what is here. I'm gonna resist this pain, or I will welcome the pain. That's the only thing that we kind of have control of, and we don't have control of. It is just also a perception that we have control of it, but in reality, we can't change what's happening here.
Can we manifest or manipulate what happens here in some way?
It is not a question of manifestation, but it's a question of accepting what's happening. If we accept what's happening, then the situations that our perspective will change. And then we can call it manifestation. Obviously, things will happen from a different point of view. And then obviously the mind again wants to be in control and say like, I created this, there is this I, when in reality it's just a happening. So it is like a game. If you move to if you fight with it, then it's the challenges will continue going. If we surrender to it, then the challenges change perspective into acceptance. So the point of view switches, and instead of calling it manifestation, it's just a happening.
Can you give us practical ways to live this life and enjoy it more and be more productive? Although I guess enjoying it is still your mind trying to take hold of it, right?
Yes, but we can accept what it is. And then, of course, there is more pleasure into accepting it, because then it becomes easy. There is no fight. So obviously the quality of life changes, and I'm not saying that it is an end, because it's always continuing. The challenges will always come. I don't think the challenges end, but that our perception of these challenges too. And through the challenges, and again, this is only my experience, but the more that the challenges that arise, and when I surrender to this challenge and I actually move towards the challenge, I say yes to the challenge. I would say there is this more, there is a bigger capacity to accept what is, to be more, to be more okay with what is, with what I can change. And I'm not saying that the mind will stop, because the mind will continue coming, but then I have the choice to not believe it. I have the choice to say, okay, this thought that is saying this shouldn't be here is the thought. And in the moment, it might be really, really difficult to do it. In the moment is we're identified with what's happening. But the more difficult it gets, it's kind of like a cooker pressure. The more difficult it gets, the mind finds that there is finally really no control until there is no control, and then the let go happens. So sometimes we need this pressure cooker and this intensity of the moment and the challenge, sort of to help us find surrender, or find acceptance, or find even well, with acceptance comes forgiveness, but sometimes the forgiving, it's part of this pressure cooker. So
Would you say that you're in a state of complete acceptance now and you try to enjoy this life, and whatever challenges come, you face them head on and keep moving forward?
not all the time. A complete acceptance, yeah, it happens at one point, but obviously there is also a process that, as I explained before, sometimes I need a lot of intensity. It gets more and more and more intense until I just remember there is no way out, and then the full surrender happens, and then finally it's just released, and then I can ride the wave. But it doesn't happen automatically yet. However, I see the possibility that that could happen eventually, as we kind of trained the mind to not interfere in the process. But yeah, it doesn't happen for me automatically. And when there is suffering, there is intense moments of suffering, and then I remember when it gets really, really bad, and then okay, there is this, and I can see it, and then I can just relax into it and allow the truth to happen.
Would you say that the mind is a product of the body, and when you are on the other side, separate from your body, that your thinking changed and the monkey mind disappeared and you had clarity?
The thoughts are part of, yeah, of this body, yes, of this experience. Yeah, the mind has come to believe from past experiences. In those moments, the past experiences are not clouding the present moment.
Have the memories of your experiences faded over time?
No, they're more present than before. Yeah, the not everything, because obviously the memory of the quality of the memory has faded. For example, I can remember the the transitions. The transitions were really intense. I remember that, but I cannot remember the intensity that it held. I cannot remember the the magnitude of the intensity. I remember there was intensity, and I remember there was yeah, there was this fight as well happening, but I can remember with clarity how intense and how difficult.
Do you fear death?
There is no fear about about what will happen when I die. However, I noticed that there is fear about what if right now ends. What if right now ends, and that's the fear that comes also with the mind. But if I were to, let's say that I would say they would tell me tomorrow you will die, I would not fear. Because fear, actually, the fear in general is the fear of dying. And the fear of dying is the fear of the mind. But the dead, there in those moments when we die or when we are about to die, there is no fear.
Would you say that once the body does, the mind dies as well, but the consciousness of who you are is eternal?
Yeah.
Well, after watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions. Are you open to that?
Yes.
How can they contact you?
I can definitely give an email and some sort of contact, my website, and yeah, of course.
What's your website?
It's breathing-awareness.com, which I will change it soon because I am in transition as well on my website, but for now it's that.
Is there a contact form on your website?
There is a contact form on my website, but it's easier if they write an email.
All right. Do you want to share your email?
Yes, it's info@breathing-awareness.com.
Well, I didn't mention it during the show so far, but you are involved in breathing techniques. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, the breath work that I learned helped me to also digest the NDE. It helped me reconnect in a very peaceful way with what I had been suppressing. It was part also of the way I was trying to connect with it, and it was really helpful because when we breathe, we actually allow the mind to release some sort of control about what's really happening and allow the body to do its thing. So it kind of makes this space between the mind and the body, which are not separated. They're working on their own. It's just that the body has stored its memory and the mind has also stored the memory, but is trying to control what the body needs to do or not. It's basically trying to control the experience. Breathwork has helped me to understand how surrendering feels in the body. How can I feel surrender in a moment, and how can I get to surrender, or how can I be aware when I am resisting? Like, what are the signs? How is the mind sending the signals to my body?
What other practices are out there that can help someone have an NDE-like experience, or at least get the result of an NDE?
So the NDE is really meeting ourselves beyond the mind, beyond what we think, and meditation is one of them that is able to get us in contact with who we really are beyond our thoughts, to have really a direct experience with what is present and that the mind can't recognize because it's involved. I've been through a process that is called Awareness Intensive, where we use koans, which is a question. It's an existential question. It comes from the Zen practices. And the koan is, tell me who you are. And we sit one across each other and we take turns asking, tell me who you are. And then we share our experience. And then the gong rings, and then the other one goes, tell me who you are, and then the other one shares the experience. Doing this practice for a number of days, 3.5 days or more, what it does, it creates the perfect environment for the mind to let out all the stories, to let out all the whatever has come to believe, until there until we have come to this moment where the mind can't find anything to grasp on anymore. And then that's the moment where we want to keep inquiring, well, tell me who you are. And until we are actually piercing through the mind and then getting in contact with what is real, with what is here, with also what's always been here. And what the result of meeting ourselves is that we are now aware that the mind is involved, but it doesn't take over the whole experience. It's like taking distance from thoughts and allowing the experience to be at the experience without necessarily pushing it or pulling it. And obviously life changes when we have such an experience, and it's available out there. And it's a pretty powerful practice that I got to experience as well, many number of years, and that I keep coming back every year, and that now I also share.
Would you say that at the end of the exercise of telling me who you are, you understand that the mind is creating who you are, but ultimately it just ends up as you're just nobody or just consciousness and that's it?
Yeah, and even nobody and consciousness, they have, it's also a concept of the mind, because we have associated things around those words. But what we get in contact with is something that doesn't have any words, and that it is this presence, is this moment. It is here. It's me. It is right in this moment.
So if I asked you the question, tell me who you are, your answer would be, I am the moment.
It is not about an answer. I also want to clarify about what it, because the answer will come through the mind as well. When we communicate, when we're in contact with who we really are and we communicate it, there's some other, there is a different quality of what we communicate. It almost sometimes sounds poetic, because what is happening in the moment cannot be expressed. We have limited language to express who we really are. So it almost sounds poetic. It sounds like a text pulled out from a sacred book, because we are really in contact with it, and it cannot be encapsulated in one word. It is a full experience. It is almost like poetry. And it's clear when someone is in touch, because the quality of the description is just, you cannot miss it. You can completely see also in the body. You can see the relaxation. You can see there is many qualities of it, and it's beautiful when that happens.
Naran, before we finish up, can you leave us with a last positive message?
Are we willing to meet ourselves fully? Are we willing to know who we really are? And if it's not now, then when?
Naran, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.